We are ready to go. I will call the April 8th Executive and Finance Standing Committee to order. Roll call, please. Miranda.
Carroll.
Here.
Manning.
Here.
Gill.
Here.
Glassbrunner. Here. Woodhouse.
Here.
Turk.
Here.
Frank.
Here.
Williamson.
Here.
Cooey.
Mark called. He is at softball tonight, so we have everybody but Mr. Cooey. Thank you, everyone. Verification of the open meetings law compliance. Agenda approval, 14-point agenda, looking for approval unless some motion by Manning, second by Gill. Any discussion? No need to change anything. We'll run right through as it's presented. All those in favor of approving the agenda as posted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Agenda is approved. Item 5 is the minutes from our March 24th meeting. Anybody? Mr. Gill?
Just note that there were 3 absences at that meeting, including myself, because I didn't know about the meeting. And if we had some way to communicate extracurricular meetings that are not regularly scheduled, that would be helpful, I think, for people, supervisors to make them. And I'm not sure how that would happen, but I was out of town. I got back on Monday and I looked and I missed it already.
We've had 3 now since the first of the year. I think we've had our second meeting is always the.
We've had occasional Monday meetings, but it's not a regularly scheduled.
Yep, it is now.
Is it? Are we gonna
Yeah.
go on Monday?
Our regular first meeting is on Tuesday, the second meeting of the month is on a Monday.
Yeah, but we haven't always had a second meeting.
Not till this year.
Yep, since the first of the year. Yep, but no, good. We'll duly noted. We'll make sure it gets posted.
Thank you.
And we're gonna plan on it. If we don't need it, send out an email and say it's not happening.
Okay.
With
that-
everything
if
that's
it's
going
regularly
on,
scheduled, then we don't need it. That's a different thing.
everything that's going on, more likely we'll be having them. Very good. Anything on the minutes? If not, if nobody has any additions or corrections, I'll approve them as presented. Move on to public comment. Item 6, anybody from the public that has comment? If not, we're moving to item 7A, Tyler implementation update. Is that Mr. Kalish?
It's Mr. Kalish as well as Ms. Clements and Ms. Hendrickson as well. They will help me kind of work through this. So just to give you guys an overview of where we're at with the implementation, this is really focusing on the HR part of this. So as you all know, we're kind of through most of the weeds with the GL process, that implementation. There's a little bit yet to work out, but we'll continually work on these things. The biggest feat that we're dealing with now is the HR payroll migration from the Avenue 400 to Tyler. So just to give you a couple important dates, but a background, we have pooled resources between various departments, pulled some folks in from HHS, some folks in from the highway and Pine Valley, and have now cross-trained some of those folks to learn the Tyler, and then had them actually working with Tammy so they can learn Tammy's processes in the 400, as well as how that translates over into the Tyler system. So I have to give the group that's working on this kudos because everyone did come together. Again, this is a monumental task, and I've said that a couple different times, but I continually say that because it is a lot of work every day, and it's a lot of sharing and working together between all these departments. So if I've ever seen an example of shared resources and people pulling our resources, this is now the time that I've actually really seen that happen. And as you all know, we had to make that happen because we have lots of things going into this and going on to make this happen. So that being said, the parallels went okay. And by parallel parallels, I mean we imported our data from a previously processed payroll set, compared that to what we uploaded in the Tyler system. And with lots of calls back and forth with our implementation person, we actually, as I told you before, have another one signed to us because it's a rather complicated process for Richland County. We were able to verify that first parallel payroll, if you will. There will be another verification, more verifications happening, but as of right now, we will be running the Pine Valley and Highway payroll through 4/11, and that's going to be the cutoff date in the legacy system, aka the 400. And then all the other payrolls will run on 4/17. There will be a final data pull on 4/16 at 4 p.m., I believe, or around that time on 4/16 to pull that last set of process payroll from the 400, dump that into Tyler, and sincerely hope that all of the verifications have carried over from both payrolls. So this way, when we cease using the 400, which is at the end of this month, and go live with Tyler, that everything that's been programmed and transferred over is working as it should. Fully expect there to be 5 or 6 bumps along the way because that's just the way the world works. But I'm hoping that the heavy lifting that's been done over the last couple of weeks will really minimize as much of those bumps and stress for everyone involved as possible. So it's going. Could it be going better? Sure, but it could be going much worse as well. So we're getting through it. We're plowing through it, and it's on its way to functional for us. The system does have a lot of different perks that we don't have. So time card entry and stuff that will come at a later date. But the most important thing for the next couple of weeks is one, getting payroll out. We need to make sure people get paid, and then making sure that that's accurate pay, and then reinforcing that with the other training modules they have. They have a ton of training modules. I need 56, 60 hours plus you could spend weeks training, but none of us have the luxury of being able to sit in front of a monitor and take 60 hours of training. It just doesn't work in our world. Nonetheless, at the implementation spot, we're at a spot where we need some assistance. So this is not necessarily a decision point. It's not on the agenda as a decision point, but it's something that I wanted to discuss with you guys. And I wanted to rope Trish and Tammy in on this conversation because Tammy's the subject matter expert in how payroll has worked for the last many, many years. Trish will be dealing with this here in a couple weeks, and I'm in the middle of this implementation thing. So the three of us had a rather lengthy conversation yesterday. It was at least 2 hours. We were here for a little while talking about this, but we're at a point in the implementation where we need to solidify how we're going to handle sick and vacation accruals. So this was not fully thought out. We didn't get this far in the implementation spot to have this figured out beforehand, right? So we just didn't get to a spot where we were ready to kind of fully implement this and make it work in the system. But now we're at that spot. So what we need to decide today is how we want to handle, or not necessarily decide because I can't go off the agenda, but I will give you the direction, or I'll tell you a summary of how we're going to proceed with this implementation. And if it warrants further discussion from you guys, then we need to then schedule a meeting, another meeting, an emergency meeting, if you will, to really kind of hammer this process down and solidify this, because we have to have this configured for the implementation immediately. I told Cody Cody's our rep, that I would follow up with him tomorrow. They really wanted an answer today, but I said I had to run it by you guys first. So that being said, we need to talk about sick and vacation accrual. Is there a preference, Tammy and Trish, either which one you want to talk about first? That's what I like too. That's why I was first here. Okay, so sick accrual. Again, the intent of having these benefits of sick and vacation time accrue as they're earned was to minimize a lot of the manual calculations that we were doing, right? To streamline these operations, to really utilize the software and what it can do, instead of having 56 million archaic, antiquated spreadsheets that we have to constantly reference, and then one individual or a few individuals have to always remember to go update this spreadsheet instead of having the software do this for us. So that was, is that fair statement, Tammy and Trish, like what the original intent of moving to an accrual system was, instead of what we're doing now, which I'll explain in a bit. So the idea of moving this stuff this way was to really, again, solidify or streamline the way we're doing things. So for sick accrual right now, sick leaves accrues at 1 day per month on that staff person's anniversary date. So it is a 8-hour dump on, like if you started the 5th, right, it dumps in 8 hours of sick time on the 5th. That's okay, but then that requires you to keep track of everyone's start date and to make sure that you're dumping 8 hours into their bucket every time. So to just solidify, to make this easier, our idea is that sick then would be spread out between 2 pay periods. So between 24 pay periods, 2 pay periods a month, you will get half of your sick time on pay period 1 and half your sick time on pay period 2. The system will automatically accrue that for you. So there's no need to keep another spreadsheet of this person, this is their anniversary date. We need to refill that sick bucket or add the 8 hours to that person's time frame, or their bucket. So is that a fair summary?
So in payroll isn't smart enough because we all have different anniversary dates that, okay, if the pay period that I'm working on encompasses your anniversary date, it cannot dump that 8 hours in. So currently in payroll, I'm putting 4 hours in the first payroll and 4 hours in the second payroll. Where the issue lies with that process is if you're hired on the 30th of the month, you're not entitled to those hours, even though they're in payroll and they're on your check, you're not entitled to them until your anniversary day on the 30th. And going forward with Tyler, the process is if it's on your pay stub, you can use it to make it easier for the employees, because if you're in a situation and you're going, am I entitled to these 4 hours? Am I not? You know, because it's very confusing for employees to understand that process. That's gonna take that right off that table. It's just, if it's on your pay stub, you can use it. There's no more having to guess, am I entitled to these hours or am I not entitled to these hours? If you're down to, you know, you're new or you've been using benefit time for whatever reason, you know, if you're just right down there, you don't have that guessing game.
And then going forward, it's just easy to remember, whatever you're entitled to earn for sick time, half of that's accrued pay period 1, half is their pay period 2. And it just automatically happens as a part of that automated payroll process. And there's no need for an additional spreadsheet or anything else to keep track of. Yes, sir.
2 questions, and some months have 3 pay periods.
So we're going to ignore the third pay period and just have it based on a 24-month pay period instead of flopping between 26 or 27 pay
Exactly.
periods or whatever that
I
is.
want to make sure that,
Nothing happens on the, so that was my other note there. No, no time accrued on months with the third pay period. It'll just all happen within first and second.
Okay.
And then everyone knows that it's very easy, especially for new people coming in, staff, you know, leaving. It's just, it streamlines it much easier
And
than,
that's what payroll's been doing already.
right, right,
I have to remember to go shut off the sick accrual, that third payroll,
right.
so nobody gets it.
So if anyone is opposed to us moving forward with that way of, you know, administering this, refilling the bucket of sick time, then that's how we would like to proceed with implementing Tyler implementing Tyler. If anyone is adamantly opposed to that, that's how it will be. We'll be implementing that tomorrow and going forward.
You're gonna proceed that direction.
That is how we will proceed with that direction.
and will it still accrue so many, you can gather so many days in your career and to keep track of that, you get how many days you
There's
can fill up?
Yes.
106 that somebody can accumulate.
Correct.
Tyler's supposed to program what that sick max is that they
Okay.
can have in their bank. And so if sick accrual is coming in and you're at the max 1,008 hours, you're not gonna get it.
Anymore, okay.
And I assume, Tammy, it'll send you warnings if towards the end of the year or however they do it. I mean, at Hartung's, they'll let you know you either use it, lose it, or get paid out. The system.
I don't think it's gonna send a warning.
Okay.
But there are,
You're at 1,008 hours and that payroll processes, you're not gonna get that 4 hours. You're at the sick max. Your balance is gonna remain at 1,008 hours.
right,
You're just gonna lose accruing that 4 hours.
you just won't accrue it because you'll be maxed out.
Looks like
You good
everybody.
with that?
Mr. Carroll has a question?
No, it's hard to do, but are you by chance tracking staff migration?
Oh, like how much time we're spending on this? No, because this is, usually it's been about 4 hours every afternoon. I could maybe find that out, but I'm not tracking it because
It's
it's,
difficult to track because you have the regular scheduled meetings per day or per
Right.
when Cody releases the
Yeah.
meeting times and days. And then past that, they're working all kinds of different hours where they're on the phone with each other throughout the day and managing their normal job plus implementing the new system. So it's
As I
extremely
said, I
hard.
know it's difficult.
Yep.
I'm just gonna emphasize once more, whenever we go to a new software system, everybody forgets how
Yeah.
expensive it is.
yeah,
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Gill?
So we're talking about sick time, basically. Now, is it time off? Can you use it for other issues or something? Or should we be calling it something else if people can utilize it?
sick time.
Health conditions, your spouse, health conditions, your children's health conditions. And if you're under family medical leave, you can use it for your own parents' medical conditions.
What is it?
Yeah, and I think that could lead into a larger part of something we can discuss now about
Okay.
PTO time and that stuff, and we're not gonna go there because this is just implementation of how we do that.
Good
So,
question, though.
Fair point, but.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one then, the next other thing we need to, I'm gonna direct you on how we're gonna move forward with this vacation accrual. So this is not terribly, it's not much different than what we're doing now. It's just, again, how do we want to implement this in the system? And as a part of this implementation, we're, trying to make efficiencies in how we do things and make numbers easier to deal with, easier to manage, and not spend, 5 hours or 2 hours splitting hairs over 0.015679 hours of vacation time or something like that, because that has happened before. And that is something that, because of the rules that we have to work with, or just how we've done things in the past, which is my favorite saying, right? It's always done it. We're trying to fix that. So vacation right now, and again, Tammy and Trish, please correct me if I'm not an expert on vacation accrual, because I'm not the subject matter expert on that. But employees are basically right now getting a 40-hour dump of vacation at the time of hire. So upon being hired, you're getting 40 hours. Now, those of you that remember the handbook, this is all laid out in the handbook. And Miranda, it's in the, I didn't put it in the packet. No, it's fine. My notes aren't up there because my computer was locked. So nonetheless, employees are getting that 40-hour dump at the time they're hired, and then they're accruing vacation based on, their years of service after that. That schedule is outlined in the handbook. If you look in your packets, I did upload an Excel spreadsheet in there. It's the very last thing. I think it says Tyler dump. So I'm referencing that, and it's going to be hard to talk about this without looking it up, but I'll do my best. Thank you. So if you look at that schedule that's there, I'm going to just focus on the one that says general ambulance highway 8 hours, because that's the one that's the most applicable. So if you're looking at that, you can see there at hire, someone's getting 40 hours right off the bat. This was changed not that long ago, a couple years ago maybe. And this was also changed as a way to, attract new hires, and also to give people that benefit time earlier. So that schedule is how vacation is accrued, and this is already what's approved. That schedule is based off 12 or 24 pay periods, depending on where you're at in the scale. What we would like to do with this is very similar concept with sick time, that people would accrue this as they earn it, instead of earning it, getting that dump, and then having that dump in there on their anniversary date. So if they're entitled to whatever amount of vacation on that anniversary date, Tammy's refilling their bucket with whatever hours they're allotted for vacation, and then they can spend that down. So we want to move away from those data dumps that are very similar to the sick, where you have to remember everyone's vacation date, what they get for time, and move to this accrual period where people are accruing it as they earn it, instead of just that one dump during the year. Is that a fair summary, you two, of what we're trying to do here? Okay, so we would still follow the schedule that you have there before you. So we're not asking to, or we're not going to be changing the vacation accrual rate. I tell you this because it does change a little bit. In our quest to make this a simpler process, and again, to work with numbers that are just easier to work with, that are like, for instance, like 3.4 or something, instead of the 3.33 repeating, this does change these vacation accruals by very, very little. So going to this accrual system, which is what I propose we do, and based on our conversations with Tyler and the fact that how we're doing this now is very complicated, going to this accrual method will clean this up and make this much easier to administer on the payroll end, and also work with the software. What I would say is that we would accrue vacation then. So changes from right now, instead of getting that one dump of vacation time, we would like to accrue it at each pay cycle as you earn it, right? So you accrue it as you earn it. Vacation time then can be used right away as accrued at the approval of the supervisor, of course. So instead of waiting for that data dump, you would start to accrue it per pay period. And as Tammy just said, that would appear on your pay stub when eligible to be used, and you would be able to use that. Vacation must be used within 12 months of being accrued versus 18. So this would be a handbook change, which is why we're bringing this up now. The handbook does say you have 18 months to use it, but based on our conversations with Tyler today, their recommendation and their software limit, I don't know if I want to use the word limitations, but it works much better in their software to accrue that at a 12-month period. And that was something that we remember again, it's another spreadsheet and more things to keep track of. And we're trying to get away from all of that and letting the system do what it can do for us. So if we switch that to 12 months, the software can handle that for us and again, deletes more of that manual calculation. We would do away with unpaid time, which for the most part, we have gone away with unpaid time. There was a time when you could use unpaid time in lieu of getting vacation time. You used to have to wait for a year to get vacation, but now since we switched to getting that 40 hours right out of the bat and amended that vacation schedule that you guys did, I don't know, a couple years ago, year and a half ago, that unpaid time is really not necessary anymore and it's not really utilized much by anyone anymore. So we just wouldn't allow it anyway. And then, as I said, the additional time awarded. So if you look at that, the chart that's on there, if we switch to rounding these numbers to whole numbers like 3.4 instead of 3.33, again, just to make this easier, it adds a little bit of time to this, the vacation that you're awarded. So for example, if you're looking at the from hired date to 6 months, it would add 0.80 hours. We see 0.40 hours added, or 0.80 or 1.6 when you get to that 15-year mark. So it adds a little bit. So it does change the handbook schedule a little bit. But again, do we really want to split hairs over 0.80 hours? And do we really want to split hairs over 1.6 hours after someone's been here 15 years? So again, if we change these accruals to these time periods with these totals, it works in the system better. It's easier to manage. The only thing it does is it does change in our handbook, the schedule you guys have, which Trish and I spoke about that. We can amend this handbook with those other changes anyway to move it to 12 months to 18 months. I'm bringing this to you because as we're working on this implementation, these are now the things that we have to have kind of solidified before we move forward. So again, it's not on the agenda, so I can't ask you to take action on it, but I would like to move forward in this manner. We would discuss this with departments, department head meetings, so they know that, there's a change in how that vacation time is administered. Again, it's not the amount of time anyone's getting other than the 0.80 and those little numbers that, again, I know I didn't want those numbers, but as we try to just make it easier to work with, you can't divide some of those up evenly anyway, or I suppose you could redo your schedule, but does that, I said a lot there and I said it quickly and it doesn't really make sense unless you're in there digging in the weeds, but is that okay? That's how I would like to move forward with the implementation. That's how I would like to tell Cody that we want the system set up. Tammy and Trish, did I miss anything in that?
It's exactly the same as our tongue.
Okay.
Very
Great.
simple. You accrue so much, but my question is, what's the max? What's the max an employee can?
How that works is you have to use it within 12 months.
Of earning it.
Accruing it. So at the end of 1 year, you should have,
But you can carry over. We can carry over. Can Richland County employees carry any over?
No, right now, what they're proposing is at the end of 1 year, if they haven't used it, they would have to probably go before you guys and ask for an extension. And it would have to be for, there was a huge, like this project, we can take vacation time off, kind of scenarios. But
And that's happened before where people, for reasons outside of their control, have not been able to take vacation. So we've dealt with those on a one-on-one basis. Again, not making 50 million exceptions for everyone. You have to have a reason to have that expanded.
the
And
only ones that can get anything paid out is those that have been here 15 years. They do have the ability to cash in 1 week of pay or 40 hours,
40 hours.
1 week of vacation.
And so the intent of me telling you this is not necessarily to make you decide or to force you to decide anything. It's just, we have to tell them how we want to proceed with implementation. And if the accrual method, this is what was discussed about before this all kind of started anyway. This had been just mentioned at a department head meeting, not fully baked because we weren't there yet, but we're now at a point where we have to implement this now. So
Supervisor Frankfurt.
All right, so 2 questions. One is, does Tyler gonna be able to handle that rollover? That if
Yes.
it needs to roll over? Okay. And number
well,
two-
I should say part of it was a manual calculation to figure out what people had for vacation at the time that we're leaving them. So 4/12, I think, was the cutoff date.
Right.
Or one of them. Yep. So
Yeah, I'm talking about the carryover.
Yes.
Someone carries over, there needs to carry over 2 weeks since they couldn't use it. Is Tyler able to track that also?
Yeah, he said we would have to do a manual
Right,
adjustment.
right.
All right. And this,
So can-
this comp time, is that something that's also gonna be in question and how that's worked and accrued and handled into this?
No, you accrue it as you earn it, and then the most you can have in your bank is 40 hours.
Okay.
And so if you
Right.
I
get
didn't know
over
that
that
was another-
40, it gets paid out.
All right, didn't know that was another benefit time question. All right, that's why I think.
Supervisor Carroll.
So the employee manual needs to be revised?
There will be, yeah, there's a few revisions to kind of go along with just shoring that up with the practice of how this is gonna be implemented, so there's no questions later. So there will be a few things that will have to be modified, which is why we're bringing it here today, to not to ask for that, but just to say, hey, we're gonna have to retroactively fix this, but I can't necessarily press the pause button on implementation to do that today, unless you wanna have a special meeting and we take it to board next week, but
But sometime the next month or two, it'll come ahead.
it'll be first on the list. I'm hoping by May we'll have it cleaned up and then, yeah, because there's a few other things in there that'll just kind of need to be addressed with the implementation. And again, if we knew this before, we probably could have had this ready, but it's just part of the process, so.
Anybody with questions for any of the three in regards to sick and vacation time accrual?
So everyone is clear how we're moving forward. There will be no questions later. Is there anything that we didn't cover, guys? I think we got
Happy to
everything.
go get a Bible and have everybody.
Well, I don't know.
Will not ask
No.
questions.
I just want to be, yes.
Has there been any concerns from any of the supervisors or any of the department heads or any of the employees going, hey, you know, this doesn't work, or this is off, or I mean, has it gotten to that point yet? I guess?
It has not gotten to that point.
You mean as far as how Tyler's working out or what their thoughts are on switching?
You know, as far as what the thoughts are on, okay, instead of getting my lump sum 3 weeks on this date, now I get little pieces of it the whole time. I'm just curious if there's any discussion from.
I think overall, the discussions I've had with people has been positive. One thing that helps is when you start, you get the week down, so you're not
Right.
starting at 3.4 each pay period. That's taking you a long time to build up. And for us ongoing employees, minus the elected, we will get that dump right now.
Right.
So we'll have something where we're not,
From
nobody
conversation,
will ever feel like they're coming from behind.
Right.
yeah, and again, from conversation with staff before this was even a thing, they would love to be able to use it as they get it versus waiting for that dump to actually happen.
And that is how most people, you know, we're a little behind the times with this anniversary date and your vacation dump. Most people are getting it. And then it, you know, it depends. Supervisors can manage that process too, but if you're already an employee, it's going to be, you're not gonna really feel it because you're gonna have whatever you have for your bank rolled over and then you're still going to accrue what you get. So there will be some that'll probably have to plan a little bit, but this is yeah.
So if you're not gonna allow the carryover after 12 months, which everybody's now used to being able to ride that out, again, it comes to the department heads and the office managers, and it's already happening, you know, we're making the employees aware you have X amount of vacation still to use, and it's really on them to do something, get that time off of work. Otherwise, they just forget about it, goes to the next year, and they end up losing it anyways. I mean, it's just,
And it'll be on their pay stub, it'll be on their.
Yes.
they get every bit stuff. I could say for sure at Highway, we actually print off individually sheets of paper and put it on their time cards so they know exactly how much they have, and we keep a binder going where they can ask daily what they have. It's just what they're promoting is a cleaner process.
Yes.
Clean up a lot.
We just went through this at work, going from an old to a new, and even like my vacation time, I printed it out on the old and watched it on the new. We did that for a month and we're done with the old and now we're in with the new.
It should clean things up and just make this easier to administer without the need of 50 different spreadsheets to try.
Well, yeah, I don't have a question, but like, this is first I've heard of how they're gonna be doing it, you know, so there's a lot of department, I don't know, maybe more departments than me, but our department, this is the first we've heard of how that's going to be going forward, so it'd be nice to get that information out to my staff. I'm not complaining about it, just that,
Yeah, I think you wanted to put it before us and then.
yeah.
Well, because we have to implement it in the
Right,
system,
right.
so we
No,
have
that's
to.
what I said, but we'll have to make sure we let our staff know, because.
And this is a discussion Derek and I had with Cody yesterday at 3:30.
Yeah,
So this is
correct.
literally 26 hours ago.
Correct.
Yeah, Cody today was like, I need an
Yep.
answer today.
Right.
Like, you're not gonna get it today.
told him he's gonna have to wait until at least 5 tonight, or he's gonna have to wait till tomorrow morning. So, again, and you wouldn't know this stuff until you start this implementation and start to work this out, so. 3:30, but that's true. We were on the phone till 5:30 at least last
Have
time.
it.
Yep. Any other questions on that? Not, let's move to 7B. Karen, you're up, County Veteran Service Office. Quarterly report in your packets or on the screen.
If anyone has any questions about the numbers that I've presented, that's in the packet, so I'll be more than happy to answer them. Just a couple of things. May 4th through the 9th, our office will be closed for our semi-annual conference that we go to. One of the things that I've contacted the state about, typically by this time every year, we've received our state grant money, and it has not come in yet. So I have put some phone calls in about that, and they said that it's coming. There's no holdups or anything. For some reason, it's just late this year. So I wanted to make you guys aware of that. And then also we collaborated with Derek's office and included in a letter to all the cemeteries for the process for the cemetery grave flags. That's all I've got. If anyone has any questions.
What happened to our veterans parking?
That is a question for Mr. Randy Nelson. I'm not sure. I know that there was.
Somebody stole the sign, we couldn't make another one.
No, Randy has the sign. He was originally, what he wanted to do was he wanted to paint it on the actual spot. And then there was a couple of his board members that left, and I think it just kind of dropped. So I know it's supposed to be out there. I know that there was, written about it, but as of right now, I don't know.
We have Public Works next week,
There you go.
so I'll make sure it gets put up.
Yes.
This week.
Yeah, you have it this week?
This week, oh yeah, it's Thursday. That's won't.
It's like we did the agenda already, sorry.
I will ask Randy. Outside of the meeting. All right, any questions for Karen? Thank you. Moving on, item number 8, discussion and possible action, finalizing appeal process for services claims. That is brought up by Mr. Wendell, is gonna cover some of that.
Yep. So I touched on this when I asked for this to be placed on the agenda. The bulk of a citizen's right to contest a tax assessment takes place prior to the issuance of tax certificates and at the municipal level. There's an open book process and everything. What we have run into now is a situation where on the tail end, a taxpayer has indicated their desire to appeal the timely payment provision of the statute. Basically, he will need to prove that his failure to pay the tax by the deadline was the fault of the U.S. Postal Service. Either he didn't receive the notice that indicated he needed to get the taxes paid, or he sent the check and it didn't arrive in time. The statute allows for the county board to make that determination, or for the county board to delegate that determination to either a committee of the board or an official of the county. So that is what I bring to you today. Just who do you want to make that decision? And to inform that decision, when you've heard me use the phrase quasi-judicial, this is an example of what one of those would look like. Basically, we will provide the gentleman notice of when whomever the board decides should hear this will be hearing it. He'll have the opportunity to present evidence, or I call witnesses if he has any. And then the body that makes the determination will weigh the presentation and make a determination as to whether or not there was some fault in the mail service. Now, the reason that I don't just say, oh, let's kick it to the county board is something I struggle to remind myself of is when I go into court, like that's what I get paid to do. That's my job. But when I have witnesses or social workers sometimes, or when I had private clients, it can be very intimidating, and they only have to face one judge. I could very well imagine facing 21 judges to be 21 times more difficult, not only from an intimidation factor, but logistics. I mean, that's a lot of people with a lot of different questions that could come up. And so it may be faster, more smooth, if a committee is assigned that. If you elect to go with an official instead, I would say do not appoint the treasurer, because she's the one who receives the complaint. So we don't want to create any kind of appearance of conflict or anything like that. I mean, it could be the administrator, corp counsel. No one else is really readily coming to mind, but so by the next county board meeting, I will need a decision on who you would like to hear this appeal, so that I can kind of get the process in writing and get that notice sent out to them. Mr. Caro.
I guess to me, deciding who that, or what that might be at best, how is the investigation and determination of fact happen?
I don't know. This has never come up before. This is why we've never needed to make this appoint or delegate this authority. We have the postmarked envelopes from receiving the checks. They don't give us the information that we need to make a finding other than it was not paid on time. So I don't know what information someone could generate that would counter, again, I mean, it's stamped and everything, like, but it is his right to try. I don't intend on conducting any investigation. I would just, in the notice, my intention is to say, you know, please provide your evidence ahead of time so that we can incorporate it into the packet for check of a body if it's going to be a body. Otherwise, just present your evidence ahead of time if it's going to be an official.
Mr. Gill?
Yeah, do you have knowledge about other counties handle these kind of situations, or we have a recommendation of what we would?
Ashley does, apparently.
So a lot of the other counties, they have them, speak to the county board, with the request, with a letter of recommendation from the county treasurer based on state statutes, and the documentation that was given to them. But that person would have to appear by whichever, if it was a committee or the county board or the official, they would have to have that, all that documentation, and it would be the burden on the taxpayer or the requestee to do that. So they would have to have a written request filed to the county treasurer. They would also have to have documentation from the United States Postal Service, you know, evidencing, saying that they had a postal error or there was an administrative or postal delay or an administrative error. And all that stuff would have to be given to the county board, and then they would be able to come.
And the consequence to this is interest starts accruing once you've failed to meet the deadline. So that would be the potential change. So if I had to make a recommendation, I'd say that a committee, just for efficiency purposes, having it go to the full county board would be the most democratic process. But again, could be intimidating and complicated. I don't overall recommend appointing an official. That would probably be the most efficient, but even, you know, with two separate officials involved, the treasurer and then whatever delegated, that's not enough eyes on it. If I were a taxpayer challenging this, I would want to know that my representatives, you know, were involved in the process. So those are my thoughts. Any questions and recommendations?
So what committee could we put this to is the question on the table? I mean, what?
Executive and finance.
Yeah, I mean, that was my thing. I don't know where else you would. I mean.
I know this committee undertakes a lot, you know, that's why you meet twice a month. And so I didn't want to assume that that would be something else that you'd be willing to take on. Again, this is the first time this has ever come up. So I hopefully don't anticipate it coming up too often, but,
Effectively, we meet twice a month. That gives people more opportunities to be able to make it if it does come up, so.
And it's,
We should make that decision on our own though. Just need to go to.
yes, so I was hoping to get a recommendation because then I would develop a resolution for passage by the county board so that it's in writing and nice and official and letting everybody know what the process would be.
are those open, would that be an open meeting for that type of thing? Is there a reason?
That's my intention. There is an exception to the open meetings law for judicial or quasi judicial proceedings, but I can't imagine, I mean.
Why not be open?
Well, unless it's the request of the person,
Right,
individual,
okay.
if they made that request, then
Yeah.
possibly that'd be.
Yeah, the intention is to have them be open. Certainly, we would evaluate if there was some reason it would need to be in closed session. And certainly that's, there is an exemption that considers that, but I can't think of an example of why.
I would say this committee should handle that.
Yeah.
I don't know who else would.
Yeah, if everybody's in agreement with that, we'll direct you to move that direction and
Okay, I have the resolution prepared by and the board.
thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, item 9, discussion and possible action, approval of proposal from Public Administration Associates for Finance Director Recruitment Services, item 9.
This one, if you'd like to change. Okay, so this item then.
Sorry.
No, I got it. It's just my laptop. So as noted, to some of you, there was a finance director who was selected. That candidate then declined, the Friday before they were supposed to start on Monday. So we then re-advertised again, for another couple weeks. We had another set of interviews, last week or the week before last week. The result of those interviews was an idea from the committee, the interview committee, that perhaps it would be not a bad idea to reach out to John Holcomer at Public Administration Associates. You all are familiar with John, right? You just worked with him through the recruitment of a county administrator, to reach out to his firm to see if they would be able to assist in efforts to recruit a finance director. Again, this is one of the hardest positions to fill. It's a specific skill set and a skill set that is quite valuable and, again, hard to find for this niche market, also known as local government, right? So what you have before you and on the screen there is a proposal. I did reach out to John and asked if he and or his folks could provide us with a kind of watered down version of a recruitment to assist in casting that net a little wider than perhaps what we've been able to do on our own. And what you have before you is that proposal from John. So it does outline the fee there towards the bottom of the page there, $4,800, which includes $2,500 budget to promote advertising. And then the other options down there are listed with short Zoom interviews, the reference checks on the qualified candidates, and then if you would like that emotional intelligence assessment that you had before. So this is what we have before us. If we would like to engage the efforts of Public Administration Associates, we can do that. Or if that is not what you all would approve or want to do, then we can go back to where we did before and continue with the same advertising efforts to see if there's a larger pool of candidates to choose from. So
Just a side note, it took over a year for them to find somebody. They did, Vernon County. So it's a process. Mr. Frank.
So I would say we move ahead with this. I think there's enough on the plate of everybody doing this to have to go through interviews for a finance director, and we have somebody who's willing to do this, that's done a good job. I don't see why we wouldn't at this point. I think we gotta expand the pool. We gotta deal with it.
Thoughts, questions from anybody else on the committee?
I don't think we necessarily need all those extra
I would agree.
options.
I would agree. I would.
Hear that.
I said, I don't think we need the extra options, the added dollars, the Zoom, the reference check, the emotional intelligence. That would add quite a bit.
Do our own reference checks then?
We can have the Yeah, we can do our own, a condensed version of ones we've done before. The ones that we have done have been quite,
They actually,
quite in depth.
How many references is that though? I mean, if you're doing 10 references, that's. a lot.
Well, I guess that's a good question. Would that be on the end? Like, would that possibly be
When
just
they-
for two?
Yes,
They did it for our county administrator candidates, they only did it on the finalists.
Okay.
yeah, right.
So I mean, I wouldn't be necessarily opposed to that.
well, and we're not agreeing to that. I mean, that, but
Those
if,
are options.
yeah,
We could add those in here.
we actually,
Right.
they told us that some of the interested people are deep dive, we called it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one was too.
That was intense.
It actually scared some people off. They said, no, I'm not going through that. You know, like, you don't need to know that much about them, so. Anyway, we'll worry about that, but yeah, good questions. It's, I agree. I think we should move forward with it. You guys have enough going on.
Yeah, and I think they can cast the net wider to, they have, you know, a larger net to get people that just that we can't maybe catch with what we're doing ourselves, so, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Comments?
Well, actually, the amount is less that it doesn't need to, but,
Right, that's fine.
if you want it to go, it can.
I don't think it does. I think you just go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, I think county board should be notified that.
I can-
Trying to give everybody know it.
I'll include it as a part of the report.
And if somebody questions, I mean, basically you're using the money from the finance director.
Correct. Right, that's not filled.
Yeah.
Right.
Just FYI on that. If no further questions on that, we'll move on to item 11.
Do you want to accept it, a motion to accept the proposal and the meeting move forward?
Sure.
Yes.
So move.
Mr. Frank,
That we said we weren't-
seconded by Mr. Carroll. Any further discussions? Is it on here as a
He just wants to say, okay, just a motion here that it's okay.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
approval of a proposal from? Yeah, that's fine. We'll
Okay.
give you guys. All those in favor of approving the approval of the agreement proposal, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Yep.
Yes, for the 4,800, and then once, we can add on the options later, if that's what you want to do.
Item 10, discussion of possible action on approval agreement with Ayers and Associates for geospatial services. Kathy?
Mr. Frank has been part of this. For our 2024 grant, we had the ortho photos on it, and now that's moved to the NG 911 grant. And so we're gonna be using money from 2024 land information grant, 2025 land information grant, and then some that are in the retained fees, so there's no county tax levy dollars. What it is in 21, they did a flyover and they did this LiDAR, it's light detection and ranging. Basically, it tells you what the topography at every point in the county. And so it was done, and when they did it, person that put it together, who's no longer here, didn't do the enhancements, which means is we have all the data, but it's really difficult to use. There are all these little tiles, and you have to try to bring over the right tile to make sure you got the right thing on the map. And with this project, they'd be taking, Ayers would be taking all that data and putting on a website, and then we could go and find where we want. And it's all in one spot. And so that's why we're requesting it. And the total, they would start out right away, and by the total for the whole project is $112,450. So that's why it's gotta come here. There's no tax levy dollars, but, and it'd be very useful for Josh's department, can look at things, emergency management, the sheriff's department, land conservation and zoning would be probably the biggest users of that.
Kathy, but did I understand right? It will not be hooked into our current?
Well, it'll be taking the data that was taken and instead of putting it on our
Yep.
internal.
So I'll have to go to a different site to get the LiDAR.
Right. But it'd be much, much easier.
I've used it before. It's very good.
Yeah,
Not
it makes a lot,
here.
yeah, we can use it for a lot of different things, so.
Would this be accessible by the public?
It could be, yes, we would have to determine, that would be up to the committee at the time, county at the time, if they wanna. Some counties have charged for it, some people said no, just, it's open to the public to be able to use. So,
Questions, other questions on the LiDAR information?
we already had one person ask about the information. I'm like, our data's not usable right now very well, so I know one person, private individual is interested in it, so.
Go ahead.
And that, so this would be hosted by a third party or.
You're right.
Hosted
Yeah, by heirs.
by heirs, okay. Okay. And is there additional cost?
I think, yeah, there is, but we would be using it through, it's very minimal compared to some other stuff. We'd be using the land information.
Dollars, or.
Yeah.
So, yeah, where is it coming from, the funding?
The funding is, when you record documents, there's money given to the state. There's money staying here, which is the retained fees. And so the grants we get come from the money that's sent to the state, and the state said, you apply for the grants, they tell you how much you're eligible for. And then, it's basically from recording documents.
Is this open-ended or is there a sunset or a time? I thought there was some kind of, it goes to a certain period or.
Well, the grant money, you have to, if you have the 2024 grant money has to be spent by the end of 2025.
No, I'm talking about the LiDAR, you know, they're gonna host this site, right?
Right,
And
and,
they're gonna do that for
well, yeah, as long as
perpetuity or whatever.
for a fee, yeah.
Okay.
For
Let's
fees.
just-
So eventually, in my opinion, we should look at, I think that was where Mr. Woodhouse was going, is most counties, you just got another box to check. If you've been on our website, if you want LiDAR, but that, eventually, that's something
Yeah.
that Kathy can bring back to us.
And we'd have to work with our MIS and stuff to have,
Yep,
we probably have to have a SIR dedicated
and there's
to,
that's a lot of data.
it's a lot of data. You think of all the little points, so it's
Yeah,
not.
Right.
kind of like your photos, I mean.
In the contract, is there any language as to whether it will increase or not?
I don't have the contract in front of me.
I was looking through it and I didn't see anything about it. I mean, it didn't even talk about what is I don't see where it talks about the annual fee then.
Page 6 of 9 talks about 5.111. It has the fee on there. Total fees for LiDAR enhancements, derivatives, and training is $115,450.
Right, but I'm talking about, she said there's gonna be a continuous.
Yeah.
And I'm
I don't-
sorry, I didn't bring that with me. I apologize.
Is that an annual thing that we're gonna pay then, or?
For some reason, I had in my head like 2,000 or 3,000.
And that's gonna be every year, basically?
And then if we decide we don't want it, then it's, but,
If we decide then we don't have access, right?
Right.
yeah,
Well, actually, so we own the data.
yeah,
So if we
right.
choose not to further engage with them, they have to
Give us the data. We have to find a place to host it.
Okay.
What we can do with it from there.
We're only paying for them hosting that amount of data.
And we can host at some point.
Plus the.
I mean, plus the initial enhancements, but after
Right.
that
Yeah,
fee is for
get-
the hosting.
Yep.
Okay, so it'd be nice to know.
Yeah, it's good. Did you see anything in there, Mike? I haven't read word for word, as far as nothing on the hosting?
Not that I saw when I reviewed this.
Is there a different, something different, Kathy?
I'm sorry, with everything going on, I forgot to bring that with me, so I don't know. I
It's gonna have to
apologize.
go to the full board, right? So we can maybe bring that.
I won't be there. I'll talk to Julie about it, see if she's got that information.
The agreement is 2030.
Right.
So if we're paying, yeah, that's 5 years.
Right.
If we're paying, what, 115 for 5 years right now, maybe it's included in there, but it should be in the wording.
I don't see anything in this contract regarding hosting. And I apologize, I didn't realize that was.
And I didn't realize either, so we'll include you, we can email Nick about that.
Yeah, I would suspect if they have a hosting capability, there's probably just a separate contract for that.
So I will,
We can find this out. Send it on.
What do you guys think?
I think go to the full board, but then with the full information, basically.
I mean, we could put it over to the 24th meeting, or not the second meeting that we have coming up on the 28th.
Yeah, but then it would go to the board until the
Yeah.
next month.
Yeah, so I will,
We need, I guess the question is, do we need to have it approved on tonight?
we need to start they need to start working on doing this, so they can get it going.
And the money is sent before the end of the year, which we still.
Part of it is, yeah. So
I'd be okay with his suggestion of we move it forward, but we bring that extra information so we can discuss that at the board level.
Yep, I agree with that. Anybody else with questions on that, or I guess we need to.
I will email Nick and her, Julie and Uncle about that, about the hosting fees. I know I saw something about hosting when he talked about us, but I didn't know it was, I missed that it wasn't in the contract, so.
Somebody want to make that as a motion, if we have any other discussion? Mr. Manning makes a motion. Mr. Gill seconds it. It's on the table if we have any more discussion. Otherwise, we will move it to the full county board with the agreement that Kathy will bring more information as far as.
I'll have Julie bring more information.
Yep.
County board.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you, Kathy. Item 11, discussion and possible action approval of resolution recognizing the retirement of a county employee. 7.
So you have the resolution before you, as you are all very well aware of. Ms. Barbara Scott retired, and this is just the resolution to honor her retirement. So pretty standard practice. We've done this before. Waited to do this. Barb didn't want a big song and dance when she left. So I did reach out to Barb and say, hey, you're gone now. Are you okay if we do a resolution for you? And she was okay with it. So that's why it's now instead of last month. So.
She's in Cabo now or something.
She's working, I think, actually.
Motion by Ingrid, seconded by Mr. Gill. Any discussion on the resolution? If not, all those in favor of moving this resolution on to full county board signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Correspondence, item 12.
Nothing in particular, but you all do have the plan of the bound version of your comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
That was printed from Southwest Regional Planning. And there are a few extra that I have up in the office, so. Otherwise, that's it, sir.
13, any future agenda items? Mr. Gill.
I'd like to hear a report from our MIS team, and it'd be great to circulate questions for them at the board, because I have questions about a lot of our iPads and all kinds of different issues. And like I say, we have a new team there, so it'd be great to have them answering questions.
Anyone else with, they can't make the second meeting we have, they can always make first meeting, whenever it works better. April 28th, if there's no other, future agenda items, anything Mr. Wendell has to add, okay? Next, go ahead.
So that will be, a week after Trish starts. I know we had talked about, you were wanting to get kind of a discussion of like what our expectations were, that kind of thing. So I don't know if that's something, how we want to go about doing that.
You want to throw it on?
I'm asking you
Yeah.
for discussion.
It's up to you.
Or I mean, how much time are you, I don't know.
I don't have any idea what that looks like. I just know that we've talked about talking about expectations, talking about what the process for example, review, I mean, various things that I think that we need to kind of discuss at the beginning of this so that we actually have an idea of how we're gonna go. And I don't know if that would be with this committee or with I assumed with this committee, but I don't want to assume, so.
Well, my gut.
I guess we also question for you what you feel comfortable with.
My gut reaction was, let's give her a little more than a week, but that's my thought.
I didn't want it to go on and we never have a discussion about.
Mr. Craig.
So I guess if we're done with that, I want to revert. I got a question on the vacation. The sheriff's department has a contract, and I think their contract specifies 18 months that they can extend that out.
That would trump.
I know,
basic
but
policy.
Tyler's not gonna be able to handle.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look at some of that too. Those are gonna be.
Just wanna make sure that
Yeah.
we're, all right.
So there will be, and there are a few of those that will have to just annually adjust to keep track of. We're not gonna be able to get away with that, but
Yeah.
there's gonna be a way to get around
Very
it.
good.
Right.
Thanks, Bob. You had to get that with them.
Yep.
That might be, there'll be a few people that'll
There'll be.
have some comment.
Well, yeah, and that's fine. Just wanna make sure we're.
All right, I'd look for a motion to adjourn till the next meeting, April 28th at 5 PM. Mr. Manning, seconded by Mr. Carroll. All those in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Drive safe, enjoy the sunlight.
I think, Bob, they do have copies of our governing documents, so when they're implementing that stuff and setting it up, they can see, reference that, so they know exactly what the parameters and expectations are.
Right, and I just knew that there was some comment that they